back to the channel and welcome to one of our weekly live streams, our Q&A live streams where I sit down, have a wee chat with you, take your questions, I give you my answers. For as much as my opinion means on certain matters, it's nice to just open the floor a wee bit and discuss different topics that I might not get to cover in the daily videos. Also today, not much else to cover, no real news, and really still in the aftermath and the fallout of the Lazio defeat on Tuesday night. For as much as we should just be focusing on the next game now, it seems like that is the real topic of conversation amongst Celtic fans at the moment. That seems to be the pressing issue. And once again, I said this in yesterday's video, I'm fed up of making videos where I just sound like a broken record. I've aired my opinion, I've put out there what I think needs to change and the problems at Celtic Football Club. And the more I see it, the more I bore myself. So I can only imagine how you guys feel tuning into the videos every day. If I need to just do the same thing. So I didn't want to make another video today where I was just like, oh, the board's rotten, they need to spend more money and give Brendan Rodgers, you know, I'm not going to go over the same sentiment every single day on the channel. So let's change it up, shall we? Let's get you guys involved. Let's do a Q&A. It's nice to see you all tuning in. Hope you're having a nice evening. Of course, Europa League and Conference League football on tonight, which means Rangers and Aberdeen are both in action in relation to Scottish football. Of course, some other games scattered around there. What's the pick of the games tonight? I don't even know what's on tonight, to be honest. I know Rangers are obviously playing, is it Limassol of Cyprus, and seen a couple of the Limassol fans in town today. But yeah, it's nice to be back on a live stream. I know we done a live stream the other day before the game and done the lineup reaction, but these streams are a lot more chill. They're a lot more lax. Get to just talk nonsense. So nice to see everybody in. Hello, nice to see you, Mackenzie, Gary, Sean, Reagan, Donny, Celtic lad. A lot of people in here. Nice to see you. Someone compliment. Thank you, Reagan. Where is that? There we go. Thank you. Nice. I know. Got it today. Finally got it done today. I've been putting it off for about a month. Just can't be bothered moving in the cold, to be quite honest, and going into the town to get my hair cut. So, yeah. Yeah, where do I start? Usually I start off with 10 or 15 minutes of talking about... There's David. Hello. By the way, David, I'm not patching you. My WhatsApp's broke, mate. Right? I tried to get Callum to tell you. I don't know if he ever did. So, sorry about that. Nice to see you anyway, David. So usually I would start off with 10, 15 minutes of kind of conversation and chatter and topics that have been in the news today. But there's not really been much. It was nice to see the Celtic team meet the Pope yesterday. That was lovely. I don't know if they've charged them for the Celtic top, but nice to see him get a wee gift. And also, you know, there's also been all the talk about recruitment in January. And that's what I've titled this stream, and that's what I'm going to try and open the first kind of 10 minutes. We've also got this to talk about later on, which we will come on to, because that's been circulating a lot over the past 24 hours. But the title of today's stream was, what is next for Celtic? Because for a lot of people, and I don't mean this lightly, for a lot of people the season's kind of done. Europe is one of the biggest parts of the season, and now that we're out, it's just the bread and butter of trying to win a league title, and obviously we can only win a double this season at most. So a lot of people just look at this season as like, oh well, it's done now. There's not much else there. But listen, I like to look at it more optimistically and saying an exciting race for the title and a chance to win a Scottish Cup again. A double would still be a really good season, but I can understand people's frustration. So what is next for Celtic, and how do we go into January? Well, the thing is, we've got to get through December first, before January's even a thought. And even though I think that the transfers and the recruitment at the club should be the priority at this moment in time, I think that they've got to sit down in that boardroom and they've got to get things sorted. We don't know where we'll be sitting come December. We've got a lot of games to play. I'm going to bring up on screen just now. This is what we've got to go through. So if I just... Hold on. Give me a moment, lads. So let me type this in. Celtic fixtures. Thank you very much. I'll get this up. It gives me a visual aid. It makes it more spicy for you guys. It looks a lot nicer. And obviously I'll get you guys involved throughout the stream as well. So if I go into share screens for a minute and open this up, I'll zoom it in for you as well so you can actually read it. This is the run of fixtures we've got up until the new year, which is an extremely big test for this side at the minute, which seemed to be kind of going through a wee sticky phase with the loss and the draw, coming back from the international break. St Johnstone away on Sunday. We then have Hibs midweek next Wednesday. Or Wednesday coming up, I should say. Kilmarnock away on Sunday the 10th. We've then got our final Champions League game against Feyenoord on the 13th of December. Hearts on the 16th of December. Livingston on the 23rd of December, Dundee on the 26th of December, and then finally to wrap up the year and to take us into the new year, we take on Rangers at Celtic Park in the derby on the 30th of December. Well then, we're not done there, because then we're straight back into another game, St Mirren. So that is pretty much, if I can zoom out a second and maybe fit all of them on screen, that would be handy. There we go. That's me fitting it all on screen now. So we've got 9 games left to play between now and the winter break, which is on the 2nd of January. Now, any sort of sensible side of my brain is saying we need to win and should be winning every one of those games. Take Feyenoord out of it for a moment. Take Champions League out. Celtic need to take maximum points out of this. There is no room to drop points at the minute. With Rangers kind of turning a corner under Philip Clement, I know Rangers still aren't great. They're still not great. I watched them play Aberdeen at the weekend. They're still not a fantastic side. But you don't want to give away any momentum in this title charge or whatever. They kind of want to go on in the second half of the season. He'll obviously get to build with his Rangers side as well. But Celtic can't afford to drop any more points between now and the 2nd of January. And we should be beating St Johnstone, we should be beating Hibs, beating Kilmarnock, beating Hearts, beating Livy, beating Dundee. We should be beating Rangers, there's no doubt about it, and we should be beating St Mirren. So realistically, we're heading into the January window, which kind of starts for us on the 2nd, I would say, because I don't expect us to have any business done on the 1st of January. I think that when kickoff is done and dusted and the game is final at St Mirren, I think that's when people have got to get into the offices and they've got to get work done. But we need to take maximum points in this stretch of games. So what is next for Celtic? Well, what's next for Celtic is, number one, getting a bit of optimism in the crowd again, getting a bit of optimism at Celtic Park and just with Celtic fans in general. It seems like going online and listen, I've took a right step back from social media. I can't be bothered with it anymore. It's just toxic. I don't enjoy Twitter. I don't enjoy social media at the minute. But it seems to be a very kind of bitter place with opinions flying left, right and centre. Just very, I don't know. It's not nice. And what Celtic need to do in these stages of games is just take maximum points. That's what's next for Celtic. Then beyond that, we need to be recruiting well in January. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, I'm going to take this off screen. I see a few comments that I actually do want to bring up on screen, but we'll save it for the kind of Q&A segment of the show. We spoke about yesterday on the channel the importance of recruiting and getting players in key areas. Now, the reports are suggesting that Celtic are prioritising a goalkeeper, a left back and a striker. These are definitely areas Celtic need to improve, and I think that we will in January. Number one, it has to be the right players. Number two, we need to be ambitious with the players. No bargain hunts or basement dwelling signings. We need to make good signings, statement signings. Ones that bring the quality that Brendan Rodgers has urged for in the press. You hear him in the media, he's desperate for quality in this side. Well, we need to go for quality, not potential, quality. Now and then quality, just here and now. That's what I meant to say. Here and now quality, rather than 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds who might be okay in a few years' time. No, we need here and now quality. So January's huge in that regard. I would like to think that they are sitting there with a list of players. Now, we've already been linked with, of course, we went through Thiago Araujo yesterday on the channel, the left back from Portugal. We went through Sidney van Hooijdonk, whose names came up. We went through Matthias Kviesgaarden as well, whose name has came up. There are names floating around at Celtic, but I hope that the board, Brendan Rodgers and the recruitment team, are sitting with a list of players that meet the quota for what Brendan Rodgers wants. Not just names for the sake of it, not names from the K-League and K-League 2, J-League 2 and second divisions and stuff like that. No, a list of known quality, known quantities that are going to come into this side and actually bring straight improvement to it. Now, the other big part is obviously Deadwood. What's next for Celtic? We need to get rid of players. That video I'll probably do some point next week on the channel. We need to get rid of players. It's not so easy just to chuck players away, and the club certainly aren't going to get rid of players for less than what they evaluate them at. This isn't a game of Football Manager where they're like, oh, we're desperate to get rid of them, we'll take the first fucking bid we get. It's not a game. It's real life, and the club will not want to go back on investments that they have made in these players. So someone like Alejandro Bernabé, who we signed for, I think it was, £3 million? 2.5, 3.5, it was between that. The club aren't suddenly going to be willing to get rid of him for 500 grand. The club will want to try and recoup some of the money that they spent on the player. These were investments that the club made. And yeah, contracts will wind down and eventually you need to take what you can get for these players. But they aren't just going to go, yep, you're gone, there's a bid, see you later. So there has to be wheeling and dealing. I don't know how it's going to be done. I don't know what's going to happen with players who should be leaving the club, but there is a list of players who are at the club at this moment in time who just aren't up to standard at Celtic, and we need to move on. For not just, like, I always say this with I don't like to sound like I'm trying to get players out the door, and I'm not a fan of certain players, but what I am saying is, for the better of their own career as well, like, there's no point in them staying here and regressing their own career and not getting the development they need when they could find a move elsewhere and they could be playing football week in, week out. Because some of them are just never going to get it here. That goes for a Mikey Johnston. That goes for an Alexandro Bernabe. These guys aren't going to get playing a lot of football. And, football's a short career. You're playing football for, if you're lucky, 15 years. At the highest level, at professional level, You get into a team at, say, 19, 20 years old, a lot of players retire, 35, whatever. You're talking about 15 years. That's not a long time. Now, why would you want to spend 2, 3, 4, maybe more years of your career waiting for that opportunity at Celtic when fans know you're not going to get it, and coaches probably know you're not going to get it? For the better of their own care, they have to move on. So, yeah, there's Anthony, by the way, £3.75 million. Like, that is a huge sum of money that we have paid for Alexandro Bernabe. So the club aren't going to just ship him off at the first offer. So it's going to be people are going to have to be patient in January. And this is one thing Celtic fans don't have. We don't have patience. We don't. People will expect January 3rd to roll round and Celtic to be linked with 10 different signings who are basically through the door, and they want 10, 15 players gone. It's not going to happen like that. You've got to be realistic, and that's one thing that's lost in this modern age of football is a little bit of realism. We kind of get lost and carried away from the glitz and the glamour of the social media posts, and that causes a frenzy. So you've got to just have a little bit of patience in there with it. But if I was to just finalise the title of the stream and say what's next for Celtic, is we need to win every single domestic game we have between now and January 2nd, without a shadow of a doubt, and put the pressure on Rangers, beat Rangers, and then go into January in a positive position, where players, have maybe made a claim in what they've got to do at this side. One thing I will say is, we can't get carried away with that either. If people start playing well over the next 4 games who we know are not good enough, we need to just get over it and accept that they've got to move on, even if they've had a couple of good games. Also, thank you to Ian, who's donated once again. What a legend, Ian. He said, evening Ryan, another typical Celtic European campaign. Yes, it is, Ian. Another painful one for us to watch. And I seen somebody say, where is that? Why bring it up in relation? So thanks, Ian, for the donation. I really much appreciate it. But I seen Mark saying, I grew up watching Martin O'Neill's team beating Man United, Barcelona, Juventus, UEFA Cup finals. What we're subjected to now fucking pains me, and I feel bad for the younger ones growing up watching this. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Considering I was 3 years old when we went to Seville, so yeah. But your football's just changed massively, man. And the part of you has to accept that it's just a world that Celtic can't compete in. But at the same time, we can do better than what we're doing. There's no denying that. We can. We absolutely can. And I know you need luck on your side sometimes, but we've just not put the ambition to match the stature of our club. When you look at clubs across Europe who are doing it, like a Copenhagen, who are, I think, sitting second, maybe third actually in their Champions League group, but they're looking at European football after Christmas. And yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Anyway, I've got over 200 viewers live at the minute. Thank you, I really do appreciate it. I have seen a couple, I want to bring this up, I've seen this earlier. Let's look at it together, let's have a laugh. So I seen Mackenzie bring it up. Where's Mackenzie's comment? David Turnbull linked with AC Milan for £8 million. Now, I can already guarantee that this is absolute nonsense, and I know you're probably thinking the same, Mackenzie, but let's have a laugh together, because I seen this article just before I went live on air. So let's read it together, shall we? Let's read it together. It's on a few places now, but I'm not going to open up the Sun, because I'm not giving the Sun the time of day. So we'll go through the Glasgow Times, and we'll read this together, shall we? Let's have a laugh. Let's have a laugh. This has got to be nonsense. This has got to be nonsense. But we'll have a look at it anyway. Let's bring it up on screen. Celtic ace Turnbull linked with shock AC Milan transfers. Been run by a few publications now. But let's have a read at it. So Celtic midfielder David Turnbull is reportedly a shock transfer target for European giants AC Milan. It's claimed that a number of Italian clubs, including Milan, are monitoring his situation ahead of the January window. The 24-year-old's out of contract next summer after 4 years at the club. He's believed to be considering his future given his contractual situation status in Brendan Rodgers' squad. Yeah. So apparently a few... Listen, Scottish players are obviously picking up a little bit of 8 million rupees sounds about right. There is absolutely no chance that we'll get, number one, £8 million for him. He's out of contract in 6 months. Who pays £8 million for someone whose contract's up at the end of the season? You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. So people are putting fees in for about £8 million. David Turnbull, I am confident that David Turnbull will leave Celtic, either in January or at the end of the season. I don't think David Turnbull will be a Celtic player. And put it this way, next season, in the 2024-25 campaign, that's scary to say that, isn't it, 24-25? In the 2024-25 campaign, there is absolutely no chance that I think that David Turnbull will be a Celtic player. I just don't see it. I think that he realises he needs to move on to get consistent football. I think he realises he's done all he can here at Celtic. And I think that the contract situation puts him in the perfect position to look at his options. You know what I mean? He gets the opportunity now to see what clubs are interested without the restrictions of an actual transfer bid. So I think he will leave. I do think David Turnbull will leave next season or in January, but not for a £7 million move to Milan. Now, I do believe that there's a number of Italian clubs look at him, and who knows, maybe Milan are one of those sides. But we are not getting £7 million for him. If we get £7 million for David Turnbull in January, I will start booby streaming. You know, I'll do strip FIFA or something. There's no chance we're getting £7 million. But I don't see him going to Milan. I can see him going to Italy. I can absolutely see it. Look at the success Lewis Ferguson is having at the minute at Bologna. I can see Turnbull making a move like that, absolutely. I just don't think that a £7 million move to Milan is actually going to happen. But anything for a click, I suppose. And I've got a click off me just there to bring this up on screen. I'm not scared. I will discuss McGregor. We'll get into the Q&A because McGregor's been subject to a lot of criticism. And I'm not gonna shy away from it. Up until now, I've not really felt the need to because I've not been as critical on him. I'm not scared to talk about it. Cats are us. Some name that. Not even like he gets in the Scotland team. Yep, he's glad he's going. Somebody says swap him for Leal. I fucking wish. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. Let's see what else. Mad that he's a top goal scorer. That just shows how poor we've been. You could say that. If he wants game time, why go to Milan? I don't think it'll be Milan, but yeah, it's a good point. I believe. If they want to $8 million for him, then let him go now. Yeah, if they wanted to throw $8 million at a player whose contract's up at the end of the season, I'd be fucking jumping at it. Josh Doig says, Alistair, of course, he's over in Italy as well. Celtic should be all over it. I wouldn't be adverse to it. I'd have to look at how he's been doing recently, though, because I've not looked over the last couple of months. But anyway, yeah, so David Turnbull. Getting linked with a £7 million move to Milan. We'll watch how that develops in January. I do think it's just a lot of nonsense, to be honest, but I generally do think there'll be clubs in Italy looking at him. But I'd be surprised if if we were to sell him in January, I'd be surprised if we got more than £2-3 million. Really, I generally would. You can't justify asking for more when somebody's on 6 million. Somebody's on 6 months in their contract. You can't justify that. You can't go down and say, no, we want 6 million. Because he'll just leave for a free anyway. The Bosman rule exists. So, yeah. Yeah. Right, anyway, I'm done all my talking. Let's Q&A it. Let's fucking Q&A it. I'm going to bring it up because Cats or Us did say that I'm actually scared to discuss it. I'm not scared to discuss it. There has to be a conversation about Callum McGregor. And there has been online. Oh, fuck aye. There's been a lot of conversation. A lot of people think Callum McGregor's finished. Would I stretch to that far a statement? No. But his form this season has been slightly concerning. Has he regressed? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. If this is now his standard and his consistent level, no matter if we're just talking about his level, take managers aside for a minute. It doesn't matter if it's Rodgers, Ange, whoever, right? If you take everything aside, has he regressed? I think he has. I think age is just naturally a part of that. I think the amount of football he's played in recent years is probably a part of that. I wouldn't go as far to say that Callum McGregor is finished, but he's someone who can give so much more to this club. And I said this a year ago, right? And and this is what people say, I'm scared to discuss it. I said this exact thing a year ago, right? I was on the Open Goal fan forum, right? And I was talking to whoever it was on it, Slaney or fucking Halliday or somebody, right? Nobody in this Celtic team is safe. And they weren't under Ange, and they're certainly not now, when they're not playing as well at the current minute. But I said back then, a year ago, that not even Callum McGregor is safe from being replaced. If we can find someone who's better than Callum McGregor, absolutely I would sign them. There's no room for sentiment in football anymore. There's not. I love Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor is one of my favourite Celtic players ever. In my lifetime, he's been a real joy to watch, and he's been a real, come through the academy and just a real talent at our club. He deserves all the respect. A great captain. He's won a treble, for crying out loud. I love him to absolute bits. But is he safe? No. Nobody's safe, and nobody should be safe. Football should be constantly looking at evolving and changing and getting better. And for me, you can get better than Callum McGregor. Is it a priority? Maybe not quite up there with a striker, a goalkeeper, or anything like that, but we're going to have to think about it in years to come. There's no doubt about that. So, listen, Callum McGregor's performances have been, needing to be dropped. I mean, a drop would be a shock. Do you drop your captain? Big question. But aye. Way too much football, though. I think that's a massive part of what we've seen this season. And I think that he's such an easy target because we know how good he can be and how good he has been. So I think he becomes an easy target in that because you're looking at the captain and you're looking at somebody who we know can be an amazing player. But this year he's just not been there at that level. And he'll know that himself. He'll know that. He's an absolute top professional. He's one of the best professionals Celtic have had. He's kept himself in such great condition and shape. And he's just been so good. I was never a fan of McGregor playing as a defensive midfielder. I was never a fan of it. You can go back and watch videos from when Ange first came in. I said that I don't like McGregor sitting as a 6. As soon as Brown left, I didn't want McGregor to do that. He adapted well to it and he made a good conversation for it. But he's done so well. He's such a professional. And he'll find that again. I'm confident of it. Maybe the winter break will do him a real favour. So yeah. Celtic lad says, Miofsky from Aberdeen. I wouldn't say no, but I'd certainly be looking elsewhere before I look at Miofsky. And maybe that is just the entitlement of somebody who doesn't think the Scottish football offers the greatest quality at the minute. But he knows how to score. He's scored 11 goals in all competitions this season, which is more than any Celtic player. So, yeah. I wouldn't say no, but I would like to see us push the boat a little bit further. Will the Celtic board do that? That's an incredibly big doubt, isn't it? But you never know. That's the problem, Ryan. McGregor, Taylor, etc. know they're playing every week. Yeah, there's very little competition in this squad, and competition's healthy. Competition's good. And there's none of it at the minute. I think that you can, especially just now with injuries being included, you can pick the 11 every week. You know who's going to be the 11. We need that competition. We need a fire under everybody's arse. When you think back to when Martin O'Neill was in charge, and even when like Gordon Strachan was in charge, the players that we had on the bench and stuff like that, they could fight for starts. They could fight for a place in the team some weeks. I don't think that we've kind of got that at the minute. In my lifetime, do I think I'll ever see a board without Peter Lawwell? Probably not, because I said this about Dermot Desmond, but they're probably on some serum, some fucking drink that keeps them living till 250 years old. So I'm not going to get my hopes up about not seeing a Celtic board with Peter Lawwell. Yeah. Let's see, what else are we getting? Yes, okay, so this was a big thing. Can I find the tweet? Can I find it? That's the question. If I type in Kieran Tierney, I might just find it. So there has been a lot of rumours circulating. So this was the tweet that set everybody off. It's just from some random... I get it up on screen for you. It was just from some random source, which, once again, I read very little into things without decent sources and stuff like that. But this came up yesterday on the timeline that Kieran Tierney is expected to leave Arsenal next summer permanently and move back to Scotland as the most likely destination for the left back. Real Sociedad want to keep him, but the preference is a transfer closer to home. I mean, if he wanted to return to Scotland, there is only one team that meets the criteria, and that's Celtic. This is one that I think is far too early to even start getting your hopes up about, or even start talking about. I think that one tweet isn't going to suddenly make the Kieran Tierney a favourite to be a Celtic player next year. I think we need to look at what happens between now and May. If I was to put my money on it, I would, and you might call me a pessimist, you might hate my sort of negativity, not negativity, but my kind of lack of optimism on it. But if I was to put my money on it now, I don't see Kieran Tierney playing for Celtic next season. But yeah, that seems to be a rumour that's floating around at the minute. Believe of it all what you will. So I have seen all of it. Yes. And listen, I don't think even Kieran Tierney is unbelievably good when he's fit, and he's one of the best left backs I've ever seen, and I mean that genuinely from football in general. Even when he's best at Arsenal, he's best at Scotland, he's best at Celtic, unbelievable player. But his injuries have been absolutely killer, and is that the kind of thing that Celtic need to rely upon? I don't know, because it's not just one or two injuries; it's a lot of injuries, to say the least. No, I don't think it's anything to do with the Stones, but I don't think he would drop McGregor. Not until there was... Who do you drop him for? Awata? I'm not convinced. If there was somebody there to drop McGregor for, yeah, I think he would, but we don't have that. So no, I don't think he would drop McGregor at the minute. Fortunate 4-2-4 with two strikers since we're struggling for goals. It's a risk. It's always a risk changing systems. It could work. You need the right personnel for it. You need to train. You need to get it down to a T. I wouldn't mind seeing us play with two up front in any capacity, but it all depends on the players you've got in that team. And I think that after January, that's probably where the best place to evaluate that is. Would I change system just now for the next month? Probably not. Realistically speaking, probably not. Somebody says Thiago scares me that he'll be like Bernabei. They sound extremely similar. I've not done my research yet, but I had a fear that might be the case. So yeah. Tierney with Taylor as backup. Taylor would be fine with that, as he still get decent games due to injuries and he's been able to. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know how keen I am on the idea of it, man. I don't know. I obviously would never say no to Kieran Tierney coming back to Celtic. I'm not that fucking daft. However, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. As I say, I think it's nonsense. I don't see Tierney playing for Celtic next season. I just need to wait and see what happens. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there for this evening because we are approaching the half-hour mark. So thank you to all 200 plus of you who have been watching this evening. I really enjoy these wee live streams. So, yeah, thank you very much. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe because that's always appreciated. We should be back tomorrow with a match preview or such, and then of course the games at the weekend, and then more content next week. Yada yada. You know the script by now. So yeah, thank you everybody. Appreciate you tuning in this evening. Have a good one. God bless, and see you next time. Ta-da.